Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Season of AI. Today we are having Bhavya Shingari with us, an AI enthusiast. Over to you, Bhavya. You can start teaching. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Bhavya. I'm a data science student. I'm studying BCA in data science, and I'm an AI enthusiast and Alpha MLSA. And I've been working with IBM as well as their Z program student ambassador. So today our topic is going to be Azure machine learning and AI. So in this session, we're going to talk about Azure AI and Machine Learning Studio, how it works. We are going to be talking about computer vision, especially in Azure AI services, and automated ML in Azure ML Studio. So let's start with Azure Machine Learning. So if you're familiar with machine learning already, then you know there are languages like Python and Java. Mostly you use Python and R in machine learning, but I've seen Java as well. So here in Azure machine learning, there's one advantage that everything is on the cloud, and second is you can opt for low or no code as well. Azure machine learning provides you automated machine learning pipeline designer, as well as you can edit your own code as well if you know coding. If you know Python, then you can create your own machine learning models. However, if you are a beginner and you want to create your test your machine learning models, or you want to be you want to gain experience with machine learning, how it works, uh, without having the knowledge of coding. So you can use Azure machine learning also to save your time. Even if you are an advanced machine learning, if you have got experience with that, you can still use Azure machine learning to save your time because it creates machine learning models in no time. So how do you create Azure machine learning resources? By going into the Azure portal. Here's my Azure portal default directory. Uh, if you're a student, you can get $100 credit for free in your Azure account, or you can get a free trial with $200 as well in your credit. You need a credit card or a debit card for that. But as a student, if you want to get $100 credit, you don't need any credit or debit card. You can get your credits right away and get started with Azure. So Azure provides many services like databases, machine learning studio. You can deploy web apps on it. You can create virtual machines on it. However, in this AI season, we are going to be talking about Azure machine learning and this AI services. So first of all, what you're going to do is let's start with machine learning first. So here I have created my own machine learning resource with my name on it. If you want to create a machine learning workspace, all you have to do is click on this create button, and you click on this new workspace button. So when I click on it, it will ask me for these. So you choose your subscription, whether it's a free trial or your student subscription. Here you can create a resource group or you can select any. Here you can give a name, your storage account. This will be automatically created for you if you are starting a new resource group. And then when you click on review and create, it will create a machine learning resource for you. So I've already created mine here a long time ago. So I'm going to show you this, how it works. So here, when your resource is created, just click on this Launch Studio button. So it will take you to the machine learning workspace that you have created. Here you can see in all workspaces, I've created one workspace that is Azure Machine Learning Workspace. So here you can see many options here. So first, if you want to set up your machine learning workspace, you're gonna set up these notebooks. It is exactly like working with Jupyter notebooks. Sorry for that. If you have experience with Jupyter notebooks, you might have coded there in Python. You know that Jupyter notebooks allows you to write Python code in one space on the cloud. So here I have created my uh, Python notebooks, IYPMB notebooks, and from here we will create our machine learning workspace. However, this is optional. You can create your resources from this portal site as well. For example, I'll be creating a virtual machine database and a storage account. You can create from here, But if you are a Python enthusiast, if you are if you want to do this in Python or Azure Cloud Space, CLI command line interface, you can do that with that as well, command line as well. I'm gonna do it in Python. So this is the basic syntax of what I have created. This allows you to create an ML client. ML client is where you create your machine learning workspace. So this is the basic syntax for it. Replace this with your subscription ID, resource group, and workspace name. However, when you create this using this Azure portal, it will be automatically created for you. Here, to set your machine learning workspace, I have imported workspace from azureml.core. So this is, you can take a screenshot of this code, or I'll give you this code on my Discord as well if you want to join. So here we need a machine learning workspace first. We have already created our machine learning workspace using Azure Machine Learning here. So if you want to create an Azure machine learning workspace, you can create from here, or you can use this Python code to create. So workspaces.begin create will create your machine learning workspace. And second, you need is compute target. Whenever you'll be running this cell, you'll be needing a compute target, which is this. You can also choose a serverless Spark compute, which is already available in the Azure Machine Learning Workspace. However, if you want to create your own, you can create here in the compute section. We'll be talking about this later, but first we are going to be talking about creating a workspace. So here, when you have set your compute target, all it will do is whatever you create in this machine learning workspace for your machine learning models and everything, all work you do here in your workspace will be computed here. This is for running all the tasks of machine learning. This is why we need a compute. And we need to store our data sets or everything. There are huge data sets we have with millions of or even thousands or millions of rows and columns. So that huge amount of data sets, we're going to be working with a lot of files, not just one or two data sets. When we are creating machine learning models, we have to clean the data set, pre-process, ETL. If you are a data scientist or if you are familiar with data science, you must know that you have to pre-process data. You have to follow the ETL process, that is extract, transform, and load process in order to create your machine learning models. So here I have created my data store, which is to store all the data in Azure Machine Learning Workspace. And here is the list of all my environments that I have created. You can create your own custom environments as well. However, Azure Machine Learning provides you many pre-built environments. You don't need to customize it. This code you'll hardly see in your machine learning or Azure Workspace career. However, there's one more thing. Although this is the copy of the um, workspace. But one more thing I've added is attached compute, which is and this Azure cluster. So there's a difference between Azure instance and a cluster. Azure instance is just one virtual machine running. However, a cluster is a collection or multiple instances running together to handle some complex machine learning tasks, which require a lot of compute requirements. So here are some data assets. I don't have a asset right now, a data set, but this is the basic code syntax that you can create your data set and work with Python. So we are going to be mostly working with the pandas library in Python. If you are familiar with Python, you know pandas is a library you use with machine learning and to pre-process data before machine learning. So here is the basic syntax you use pandas for. Here this will read the CSV file, which is our data frame, and this prints the first 1,000 lines of it. This will fill all the missing values in the dataset because a dataset is a huge dataset. Uh, there's going to be a lot of duplicates. There's going to be a lot of missing values. So it's part of pre-processing the data that we fill the values, all the missing values with this value. Here in my sample dataset, if there's any missing value, this code will replace it with unknown. Here, if there are any duplicates in my data, it will drop it. It will delete it. There will be no duplicates. And here it will sort index in descending order. Sorry, ascending order. So after dropping duplicates or cleaning the data, the index of the CSV file or the data set becomes disturbed. So when you sort the index, it will be clean. Now we come to Azure Machine Learning compute. So as I told you, that compute is used to hold all the or run all the machine learning tasks in your workspace. So in order to create a new compute, you have to click on this compute instance. Here you have to give it any name. You can select from GPU or CPU if you want. I will use my CPU, virtual machine learning type, and you can select any. This is the general purpose classical ML model. You can use it on small data sets. However, if you want a memory optimized uh, compute, you can use this one. You can read workload types as well. So according to your needs, you can choose any of the compute instance here, and you can see the cost as well. So if you are using a free trial or your student account, you will have around $100 as a student in your machine learning workspace in your Azure credits. So you don't have to worry about it. It will just take $0.23 per hour. So I'm using this one currently, which is memory optimized. It takes around $0.30 per hour, and it has six cores in it. So when you click on review and create, you can customize it here if you want to. However, this is all optional. These are the required settings. Once you give it a name and select the compute instance you want to create, it will create an instance automatically for you. So I have this one automatically created. So in order to test it, what I'm going to do is click on my compute instances. This one I've created already. So I'm going to start it. You have to start your compute every time before running any machine learning task. Until then, we can see the compute clusters as well. So in order to create a compute cluster, you click on this tab, you click on this, you give it a location. You can choose any location which is closest to you. That will give you lower latency. So you choose your machine learning tire if you want a dedicated or priority, low priority. If you want to uh, use this machine learning once in a while, you can choose low priority. If you want a complex or higher machine learning task and you're going to be using it regularly, so you can choose this dedicated one. Here, same thing. You can choose between CPU and GPU compute clusters. And when you click on next, here are the advanced settings. So here you can choose the minimum number of nodes. First, you have to give it a name. So here you can give it any name you want. And then you have to choose the number of nodes. So what number of nodes do is uh, that is the number of clusters. That is the number of nodes that will be working on your machine learning tasks. So I recommend that you choose zero number of nodes as minimum because here, if you see idle seconds before scale down. If your machine learning tasks is if your task is idle, if you're not doing anything, it will automatically scale down to reduce your cost. So if you leave your instance or cluster running without any machine learning task, it's going to cost uh, your credits. So if you choose the minimum number of nodes to zero, and uh, if you choose this idle time of your scale down, so after this amount of time, if no task is running, then it will reach automatically to the minimum number of nodes, which is zero. So you're not going to be charged anything when the number of nodes are zero. So here you create your compute cluster. And if I see here, my compute instance is now running. So here we are going to test if our compute cluster is running or not. So I'm going to clear all this and print hello world just to test. Here you can see, here you can check that my compute instance is running. Here it's written running. If it's not running, it will show stop. Now, as you can see, it's running. So I click on this, and as you can see, it took less than 1 second to run this code, and it has printed the hello world. You can run all of this here. If I run this code here, you can see in less than a second, this code started running. So if you want to stop compute, you can just stop it here, but we are going to be using it for now in our automated ML. So what is automated ML? As I told you that we are going to be using Python to write our machine learning tasks, our machine learning models. But what automated ML allows you to do is uh, you don't have to write any code. As you can see here, it says train automatically. You can submit an automated ML job to train a model without single line of code. What it means is you don't have to write any line of code and you'll be having your own machine learning model. So you can give it any name here. So I'm going to give it an example or a demo code. Here you can create new experiment name. If you have an existing model, if you have created it before, you can select existing. If you are doing it for the first time, you can create new. So I'm gonna give it a name, a description. It's optional though. And then we are gonna see the class task type. So if you want to predict categories like whether this is a cat or a dog image, or if you want to predict yes or no, if you want to predict whether it's green, for all the classification tasks, you can choose this one. However, if you want to predict some continuous values, for example, if you want to predict if you want to predict the price of a house based on the size of the house, you can choose this regression model which predicts the continuous numeric values. To predict values based on time, you can choose this one, time series forecasting. For natural language processing, for class-based models, you can choose this. For classifying images, you can choose computer vision. So for this task, we'll be choosing the regression. So here's my data set. You can choose any data set you want. Here's my data set. This is an example dataset available on the Microsoft Learn site. So if you visit this site, you'll be having your dataset to test. So I have two datasets here. I can click on create dataset. So I give it any name. You can give it a description, and then if you want to select a data frame, you click on tabular. Data frames or CSV files are available in a tabular format, and then I'm going to be clicking a web file if I'm going to be importing my dataset from the web. So if you have any dataset that's available on the web, you can choose web. However, if you want to download your own dataset, you can download it here. So I've just byte data here. So what I'm going to do is extract it in documents folder. Let's do it. So in this case, I'm not going to be using my web file data. I'm going to be choosing it from my local files. You can create a new data store here, or you can select existing one if you have. Upload files or folder. If you click on this, it will automatically upload a file or a folder. So I'm going to be uploading my file upon clicking Azure. Wait a second. I haven't pasted anything there yet. No. Here, here's my data set in the CSV format. Make sure your data is in CSV format. Uh, so here I have imported my data set. Here you can see that my data set has been imported, it will automatically encode your data set. So here you can see my data set is delimited. If you're choosing a tabular data, you have to select delimited and make sure all your values are separated with a comma. That's what CSV file means actually, comma separated values. So here I don't have to select anything because it has done for me already. It is done for me already by the Azure machine learning workspace. So all I have to do is create. Now I'm gonna be choosing regression because will this data is about bike rentals, and I'm going to be choosing all the target columns. In this case, I have only one column, that is rentals. I have to predict rentals based on these columns. So if you are familiar with machine learning, you know that in supervised machine learning, uh, that you have your data set labeled. So here, based on these columns, if I see my data set, if you see my data set, here are the number of days, and here is the month, year, season, holiday. So based on these values, based on these columns, here is the result of rentals, right? So now what I'm going to do is it's going to predict a new number of rentals based on these values. So in supervised learning, what happens is we have a data set prepared. We are telling the machine how to learn. In supervised machine learning, we train the machine learning model with some values with a target column to predict. However, in unsupervised machine learning, uh, the computer learns from the patterns itself. We don't have to give any specific task to learn from. We just give the data set, a clean data set, and it learns by itself. The algorithm learns by itself. But in supervised machine learning, we have to train the machine learning model by giving a data set. So most of the time, you're going to be using the supervised machine learning if you're choosing a data scientist task. So here, I have selected my target column, which is rentals. Next, I'm going to be choosing my compute instance, which is faster than this serverless. You can choose serverless as well, which is free. It's not going to cost you anything. But if you have a compute instance, it's going to cost some credits. So I'm going to be using my compute instance, and then I'll be submitting my training job. And based on this, it will automatically create a best model for me. And here in the jobs section, as you can see, it has took me to the jobs section. Status not started. It will start automatically. As you can see here, job details. It's running currently. It's gonna take some time. It can take up to 30 minutes. Uh, based on the data set you have provided. The more complex the data set is, the more time it can take. As the automated machine learning will test all the models and all the machine learning model types, all the algorithms, and it will give you the best one. So here in the job details, you can see once it has been completed. For example, here if I choose my demo, it no longer exists actually. So that data set was deleted before. So if you click on this one, once it's finished, you'll be able to see in the outputs and logs the results. But now it's going to be taking a lot of time to complete the task. Until then, we move to the Azure Machine Learning pipeline design. So this is basically nothing but machine learning, but you have some control over it. In automated machine learning is you just upload the data set and it will automatically create the best machine learning task for you and it will give you the output. But here in designer you have some independence, although you don't need to write any code if you want to here, but you have some independence. For example, here I have my data set. Here I have two data sets actually. That example I had one data set. Now there are two data sets. You can choose any sample data if you want to practice machine learning. If you want to practice the machine learning pipeline designer, you can choose any data set from here. It's available for free. So you can choose from any sample data and you can bring it into the machine learning pipeline designer. All you have to do is drag and drop. Once you drag and drop, it's gonna be you're going to be working with the data set and you're going to be connecting these with the pipelines. So as you can see, this one is already connected, so I don't need to do anything. So here is my data set, which is restaurant feature, and these are ratings. So these are two data sets. This one, what it does is it gives the machine learning model our features. Like based on the features like customer ID, customer reviews, it's gonna predict ratings, which is this data set. So when you go to a restaurant or when you open a restaurant, you see there are many types of customers, and based on their personal opinion, they give ratings to the restaurant. So here's what ratings. So when you rate something, you do it on the basis of how you like it or not. For example, when you rate a movie 4 stars, you might like action in it. So based on those features, what you like in the movie, what feature in that movie is that you like. Similarly, in this restaurant feature data set, what do you like about the food and which food item do you particularly like? So these are our feature columns. So based on those, people have rated the restaurant. So here what we are going to do is select the columns in dataset because there are going to be unnecessary columns that we don't need in order to train the model. So in order to make a dataset clean, so I've selected these columns. I've removed all the unnecessary columns from the dataset. So I need only these columns. So dress code, price, ambience, alcohol, and place ID. So these are the important columns that I need in order to train the dataset. I don't need the name of the customers. I don't have anything to do with the customer names if I'm gonna predict the rating of the restaurant. So that is unnecessary for me, so I have removed it. So in my this second column, make sure if you're using two data sets, this is important. When you're using two data sets, there should be a matching column. So here, place ID is the matching column in both the data sets. So I've selected place ID. If there was only one data set, I could have removed the place ID. I wouldn't have kept it in my data set. But since we are using two data sets, I need one matching column. That's why I've used place ID in both the data sets. And this is the target data column that I need to predict. I need to predict rating based on these features, right? So now, because there are two data sets, I need to join the data as well. So in Python, if you see, you can use the pandas. If you are familiar with Python, you use the pandas merge method or melt method, depending on the data set, you join the data. So here it has done for you automatically. So how you can do this by your own is just by searching here, searching the components. Here, if I search select columns in dataset. This is what I have dragged here. And if you connect to this, you can select the columns. All you have to do is click on edit columns. So I've dragged all my components here into the machine learning pipeline studio. So after you have selected your columns in the dataset, all you have to do is join the data. So when you join the data, your table is now merged. Or you have all your target columns and your features as well in one dataset. So after joining the data, it's obvious that if it's a large data set, it's going to be have a lot of missing values, a lot of duplicates. So this is what uh, clean missing data does. If it has any missing value, it's going to replace it with zero. Replacement value is zero. So here you can choose the minimum missing value ratio or maximum one. You can choose it between 0 to 1. if you are using the proportionate, if you are using the normalized data set. So if you are working with Python, you know what that means. It's a statistical term that you use with machine learning. So you can choose your replacement value with any. You can choose it with unknown as well. But here I'm choosing zero. Most of the time you're going to be using zero, or sometimes you're going to be using mean as well. There are many replacement methods. You can choose mean, you can choose median, you can choose standard deviation. But in my case, I'm going to be using zero as my replacement value. So if there's any missing value in my data set, it's going to replace that missing column with zero. Next, we split data. Now, this is important because in order to test the data, we need some data, right? So if there's a huge data set, I'll be using 60%. You're going to be using 60 to 70% of your data set for training and the remaining 30 to 40% for testing. So here 0.6 means I'm going to be using 60% of my data set for training and the remaining 40% for testing. So now, right beside the split data, once you have split the data into this is training data set and this is the testing data set. So once you have split the data, all you have to do is select the algorithm. So there are many machine learning algorithms. Here you can choose your own Python code as well. If you click on this, create Python model, and if I drag it here, you can write your own Python code here. But I'm not going to do this in my task. So what I'm going to do is you can choose any model train model here. We are going to be using this later. First, we are going to select our machine learning algorithm. Here I'm using boosted decision tree regression, which in my data set case is the best one. You can choose any if you want, depending on the data set. Every data set has different features and values. So depending on what you want, you can choose any algorithm that fits the best for your data set. So if you don't know, if you're unsure what algorithm to use, you can choose this automated machine learning, which will automatically select the best one for you. However, if you're experienced with machine learning and you know which machine learning algorithm would be best for your kind of data set, you can choose this one, boosted decision tree regression. So you can choose this. In my data set, in my case, I've chosen this boosted tree regression, boosted decision tree regression. So once you have selected this, now you have to do is train your model. So I'm going to be training my model here. What you're going to do is you train your model by dragging this into the left side of this train model input, and you're going to be using your training data to the data set, to the train model. So if you see, I have to select the label column. In order to train the model, we need the label column, that what is that one column that you want to predict. You can choose multiple as well depending on the data set. But here I want to predict the rating of the restaurant, so I've chosen this rating column. And now, after your model is trained, you have to score your model, which is you need to see that whether my model is performing well or not. So you need to select this score model component from here. So when you search it, it will bring the score model here as well. So in the score model component, what you do is you see whether my model is performing well or not, and then you do evaluation of your model. Then you in score model, when the thing you can see is I've chosen the remaining 40% of my data set here to test my model, to score my model, and then I evaluate my model, which ends my task here. So once you have evaluated the model, all you do is configure and submit. So when you click configure and submit, you can give it a name. You can give any random name to it, and then you select. You don't need to select anything here, but here in the runtime settings, you have to select your compute instance, compute cluster, attached compute, anything. So if you have a VM in your machine learning workspace, if you have a VM, if you have created VM in your Azure, you can choose this one here, attached compute, which will use that one from your resource store. So you have to select a data store here. So as you see, I have uploaded a CSV file. So it will store that CSV file into the workspace, blob store. So blob store, what it does is store your data. There are many kind of storage options in Azure. For example, SQL databases, which is for tabular data format. If you are going to be developing websites for your projects, so you can choose this Azure SQL database. But if you're uh, gonna store some images or files for or some unstructured data that is not in tabular format or structured, you use this blob storage. Blob storage stores any kind of data. For example, it's like your phone or computer's uh, workspace. Here you can see that there are many kinds of things stored here, zip files and images. So that's exactly what blob store does. It stores any kind of data. So when you click on review and submit, it's going to validate our data first, but I'm going to skip the validation and submit. So once you submit this task, it's going to take some time. It can take 10 to 15 minutes to run the task. And after it's done, we can see the model. We can see the results as well. As you can see, that the green tick here means our model has been evaluated and it's running perfectly fine. If there's any error, then it would highlight it in the red. So I would see some red color here and a cross here if my data set has any error or my machine learning model has any error. But since it's completely fine, it's running, I'm seeing this here. So it's going to take some time to complete to score the model and to evaluate the model. Till then, we're done with the machine learning workspace here. You can create your machine learning environments here. As you can see, I've created many machine learning environments in my workspace. So you can choose your custom environments as well, or you can use any pre-built environments as well. You have a lot of options here. So as you can see, there is Python SDK. So it's important that you work with Python SDK. So as a data scientist or as an ML engineer, if you're working with Azure, it's good that you choose your automated ML or machine learning designer. But for complex cases, you're going to be using this mostly as your notebooks. So you can choose the Python SDK, or you can also open the terminal and use with YAML files. YAML files, if you're familiar, you can use that. I'm not, I don't know anything about YAML files, YAML files. I know just the basics of it. So I'm using Python SDK in my case. So most of the time we use Python SDK to create your machine learning environments, as we have already discussed this. So you can upload your file, create a new file. You can not just use Python, but you can use any, for example, R, Bash, text, or YAML file, as I've discussed. So if you're not familiar with Python, but you are a statistician in R, or if you're doing machine learning with R language, you can choose R language as well. It's not important that you use Python only. But however, it's important that you know Python SDK as your machine learning, since it's popular. So here I've come out of my machine learning workspace. Here you can see shortcuts as well, create a new notebook, add compute. So these are all the necessary tasks for your machine learning. Here you can deploy your model as well if you're working for your projects or any company, then you can deploy your model. I've not deployed my model yet because I'm just testing an example here. So if you see that my machine learning model is still running, it has not yet completed the task. So as I said, it's going to take a lot of time since it's going to test all the algorithms on the. Here you can see outputs. Here you can see a lot of files. Once it's completed, it will be visible. But since it's running, it's not yet visible. So once I go out of my workspace, here you can see uh, Here are many options, models, endpoints. So here, endpoints does is it allows you to deploy your machine learning models. So using these endpoints, you can check whether your model is working or not, it's deployed or not. So once it's deployed, you can connect or see the output of your model anytime you want to, just with an endpoint key or a link. So it basically serves as an API. So here in the Azure Designer, I've created my pipeline. So whatever I did in my Azure Machine Learning Designer workspace, that drag and drop thing, it is called a pipeline. So you're going to be working a lot with pipelines as you work in uh, as you work professionally. So here's everything you need to know the basics of Azure Machine Learning. Now moving on to the Azure AI services. There are a lot of AI services, as you can see, Azure AI services. Here in this one, you can choose any AI services independently. However, if you choose others, you're going to be limited to using only one AI service. For example, here in this computer vision, I can only train my models that uses the computer vision thing of AI. I cannot use Face API, custom vision, speech service, or bot services in my computer vision. But however, if I create an Azure AI services workspace, it's gonna allow me to use all of that in just one place. So here is Azure AI keys and endpoint. You're going to be getting two keys here and as an endpoints, so you can copy your keys and deploy your models, and you're going to be using these keys to see the output when you're going to be deploying. So here is the networks. You can create your own virtual networks if you're working with someone, or if you're working on a group project. You can use this for yourself as well. So here is Azure OpenAI. As you know that ChatGPT is widely popular these days. So you can create your Azure AI OpenAI service. As you can see, it's not available yet for everyone, especially for students. You have to fill a form. You need to request it. All you have to do is fill this form with your subscription ID and everything, your name, and the access for Azure OpenAI will be granted to you. However, it's not yet for everyone. So I'm going to be working with computer vision here. I've showed you there are many kinds of AI services you can use here. You can use all of them at one place here in your Azure all AI services. But we are going to be using computer vision for this, as I've created this one already. So here, as I already showed you, there are keys and endpoint to test your deployment. So I'm going to be using the Computer Vision Studio to test my whether my resource is working or not. So here is the interface of computer vision. In order to create a computer vision resource, what you have to do is go to computer vision, and similar as the machine learning workspace, all you need to do is fill in these details and choose your nearest region. In my case, I'm going to be choosing Central India. Pricing tier, you can see there is free one as well. The best thing about is you can choose free one if you are using it just for testing or a small project. However, uh, you can see if you are using it for your website or a complex project, then you can choose the standard, which is gonna cost you some credits based on the usage. So it's not gonna cost you a monthly subscription. It's gonna cost you based on the usage. If you use, for example, 10 calls per second, then it's gonna cost accordingly. So here you can see there are many kinds of computer vision services you can use. So in order to add any dense captions to your images, all I have to do is drag and drop a file here. You can choose any file, any photo here. So I have a GitHub picture here. I don't think I have it right now, but I have used it. So all you have to do is click a photo or browse for a file that is already existing in your workspace, upload it here, and it will automatically give it a caption. So right now in my workspace, I don't have any images to test, but this is so remove background from any image. If you have an image and you want to create a professional image, for example, you have You have your own image informals, and you want to create a developer portfolio and you need your background removed for the image, you can choose this service. All you have to do is browse for a file, and then you're gonna and it's gonna do it automatically for you. You don't have to follow all these long steps. So here are all the services that you can use in computer vision. However, there are some specific services you can search for, like face image analysis. So if you're building a face detection system, you can use this. I recommend it to use this Azure AI services if you're going to be working with a lot of AI services. And it's going to cost you collectively. However, if you use all the services independently, it's going to cost you a little bit more. Although there's less difference, not so much. However, it's better to choose according to your requirements. So here I'm not going to be creating any other AI service here. I'm just going to be using Vision Studio because I have experience only with Vision Studio. I have not used any Azure AI services other than Vision Studio yet. So you can use this, add captions to images if you want, and if you have any image here, for example, you can see there's an example image. Let me just save this image only. Save image as, and here in my downloads I have saved this one, and all you have to do is sign in with Azure. It's going to be asking you to sign in. As you can see, I'm already signed in. In order to, here's some error with the here. I've encountered this error many times. That's why I created my Azure machine learning workspace on uh, US West region instead of Central India, because this one, as you can see, is causing some issues here. That's why if you're using your own projects, you can choose the nearest one. However, for some cases, you must create some. Sometimes what happens is uh, you will be facing some errors in machine learning or AI workspaces based on the region. So for now, I'm facing this error, but last time I also had faced this error, but it's been a long time, like 2 or 3 months ago. There was no such error in this workspace. Uh, so I can't use this image here. I have to create a new resource in order to do that. But as you can see, I have uploaded my image. All you have to do is acknowledge this, and by clicking just one button, the output will be shown here. You can see the output here on this screen. So in Computer Vision Studio, CV Studio, you have other services that you can use, like the most important ones, like liveness detection, extract text from images. Like there's many times you get a screenshot of a chat, or you click some photo and you need to copy text from it. Sometimes for example, I'm choosing this sample image. I click on acknowledge. I click Azure for Students. I first CVR, and then what I do is now what it's gonna do is show my result here. So it's gonna be taking some time. Here you can see everything, uh, the identity card in that image, national identity card, biometrics. So if I use this credit card image as well, it's gonna do the same for me. It's gonna detect text from the image. So if I use other, for example, let's give caption to some images. This one was not working because of some region issues, but let's test another, detect faces in image. Let's see this one here. Please select a resource. So what I'm gonna do is select a resource now. Uh, there's no resource. I have to create a resource here. Let me create one new resource. Choose a resource group. You can create your own resource group if you want to. I'm going to be using the free one because I just need to show you the demo. So this one's also not working right now. There are only a few services working in this particular region. So if I change the region, I'll be able to use all of them. But probably in US or East Europe, I'll be able to use. So here, if I use this one, let's detect common objects in images. So I'm going to choose this sample image first, and then what I'm going to do is it's already acknowledged. You can choose your threshold value here. So the lower it is, the more accurate it shows. As you can see, here's the subway train. It has, even though the image is blurred, it has detected that there is a person here, there's another person here, and the percentage of match. Uh, the AI can say that yes, it's 79.50%. Uh, it, it is similar to a train. So let's use another AI services, computer vision service. We have already used this one. Create smart crop images. So let's choose this one. Here, as you can see, it has automatically removed all the unnecessary part from my image. So it's better to use this for your own images as well. I can't use my own images because of the region issues as we have seen before. So here are all the services, all resources. This here you can add a new data set. As we did with Azure Machine Learning, you use your own data set as well for image classification. You can upload an entire folder filled with images here, and it's gonna work fine. So you can use the Azure CV Studio or Computer Vision Studio. Here, if we see other Azure AI services, then we have Health Insights, Immersive Reader, Content Safety, Speech Service. I don't have any experience with that or knowledge of that, so I'm not going to be uh, covering this one. However, I can tell you the basics. So uh, there are anomaly detector, language service, translator, custom vision, face API. You can use anything. But one thing that I like is Azure OpenAI. So in my other account, I had used this one. In my student ambassadors account, I had used this one as well. I got access to it. But since in the student subscription, it's not available, so it's not going to be available for students. However, you can apply and see whether the response comes or not. But in my case, I didn't get OpenAI service in my students account. So here's all you need to know about Azure Machine Learning and AI as a beginner. So if you want more experience, you can learn more. I have a Discord server that you can see where we learn about machine learning, AI, and other studios, other stuff. So here you can see I have uploaded some practice challenges. If you are a web developer, you can create your account and join me on Discord, and you can complete these exercises if you are learning. So here you can see I've uploaded some exercises. I've created this by my own. So however, I'm using this Scrimba site to host this, but I've created these challenges for your practice. And we have machine learning here as well, Python for data science. I've uploaded handwritten notes and other notes as well. And if you're going to be practicing or building your own projects, you can uh, click on this. I'll be uploading some projects later. I've right now I've only uploaded web development projects. For AIML projects, I'll be uploading soon. But if you need notes, you can ask. You can get your notes from here. So if you want to learn anything, you can just join this server and you can contact me or my friends group. They're also learning the same. And that's all for this session today. I hope you liked this session. I hope I was able to give you some clarity about Azure Machine Learning and AI services with my demos. So I didn't prepare any PPT because I find it boring. Uh, I better like when practical things are done. So here on the Machine Learning Studio and Computer Vision Studio, I've given you some practical examples of how to use these in Azure. So here on Discord, you can contact me for more if you want to learn more. So on the Discord, you can find me as Bhavya, and you can join the server. I'll be providing you the link if you want. However, I'm also active in this community as well. If you are familiar with the Azure developer community, if you have attended their events, I'm here as well. So you can just tag me if you want to contact me about AI or ML. Because I'm also learning right now. So if you are experienced with AI and ML, if you have already built some projects, so you can contact me. I'll be happy to work and learn. Uh, so that's all for today. I hope you all like the session. Uh, Thank you everyone for attending. I'll be just ending the session now and stopping my screen.
It was an amazing session, Bhavya. I hope it will help many children to study. Thank you so much. It was a great session. I'll be just ending the stream right now.